Hi, this is Stan from Hardwood Inspirations. I'm bringing you one of my woodworking projects that I've done. It is a Redwood coffee table that I fabricated the legs for and did an epoxy finish and river in it. I bought this slab at a garage sale for $5, so it was a really fun project. Unfortunately, I do not have video of me flattening the slab and a few other things, so please enjoy it. Please subscribe to my channel, click that like button and the notification bell so you can be notified of future videos. Thanks and have a great day. Here's a view of the redwood slab I got at the garage sale that I'm going to use for the coffee table. Okay, I'm going to use this piece of plexiglass on the bottom of this redwood slab. And so I just need to decide which side I'm going to make the coffee table. Top. Which side should I make the top, dear? This one?
Oh man, that's a hard one.
I think I'd go the other side actually. No, that's the bottom.
Yeah, I like this too because you can see this.
Yeah, I like that too. Okay. As you can tell, we had a little indecision about what was going to be the bottom and what was going to be the top of the slab. Here I'm getting ready to attach the plexiglass. I used some acrylic caulking on the bottom of it and put it on all the edges except for the open one, and then spread it out evenly onto the wood and then laid the piece of acrylic down on it so that it would adhere and make a good seal so the epoxy would not run out. This process I saw on another YouTube channel. I can't remember which one, so I can't give them credit, but it was a very good idea and it worked great. After smoothing the caulking out so it was even, I then put the piece of plexiglass down on it and pressed it. I then used some short 3/4 inch screws and screwed it down into the back of the slab itself. So after finishing screwing it down, I turned the slab over so then I could use duct tape to close in where the river or lake area of it would be. So I went and got my Gorilla Tape, is actually what I use, and used that to help close in and so I could have a dam for the epoxy. This worked really well. I did have a little bit of leakage when I poured, but not very much. So it really held in the epoxy well. So it was a good idea to try to do that. I wasn't sure exactly how to do that since I had curved surfaces and stuff. And so the duct tape, or I should say Gorilla Tape, worked great. So here I'm ready to pour some resin, the colored resin, into the lake area, and I'm using Total Boat tabletop resin for this. You put the resin and the hardener together and you stir it for 3 minutes, and just be gentle about stirring it so you don't get a lot of bubbles in it, but stir it consistently and do at least 3 minutes and make sure it's mixed up. I also used pigment from Total Boat for this project. So there's a couple tricks to not have a lot of air bubbles. First, don't stir it vigorously, just stir it steady and easy. And then secondly, have a nice propane torch available and hit it with the propane torch, kind of get rid of all the bubbles initially, and let it sit for 10 minutes. Hit it again, and then let it sit again for 10 minutes, and you'll still have some micro bubbles, and hit it again with the torch. I should say torch it, and then let it set one more time for 10 minutes, and then torch it again, and you will get rid of the micro bubbles that are in the epoxy. Do not get too close with your torch to the resin, as it will burn it and it will show up. I did this in 2 pours, so I did the second pour, and here it is after it has been poured. I'm now going to turn it over and remove the plexiglass on the back. As you can see, the epoxy looks pretty good. It's not quite all the way to the very top of the lake area or the river area, but it's close enough so that when we finish it with a final clear epoxy on the top, it will be finished. What I'm doing here is I'm taping up some cracks that are on the back because I have some small holes and stuff in the front, and I want to close those up and put a little bit of clear epoxy on them, or black epoxy in this case I think I will use. And this way here they won't just seep through and leak onto the floor. I'm now going to prep it a little bit and actually do a little bit to make sure there's no dust on this river. Blow it off. I probably should use an air hose on it actually, but I don't want to get too much dust in the air. And then I'm going to use some black epoxy and fill in all the little places. I'm going to do that by just dripping a little bit onto the surface, and then maybe even kind of brushing it in with a scraper. And here I am filling up the rest of that lake or river and making sure that it's right as close as possible to the top without getting too overfilled, because otherwise there'll be a lot of sanding. And then I'm going to also fill all those cracks up. Again, I'm going to use the torch to get rid of any air bubbles. Even in the small areas, I want to hit those, make sure there's no micro bubbles or anything like that. So it's a nice, bright, shiny epoxy finish. So I have a drum sander, so I ran this initially through the drum sander, and then I used my oscillating sander and sanded all the top down really good, all the way to about 400 grit, and then I used lacquer thinner to make sure there were no scratches. And now I'm getting ready to mix up some clear epoxy, Total Boat tabletop epoxy. And I will apply it on the back first, and then seal it up and let it dry, and then I will apply it on the top. You want to make sure you smooth it on the entire table. Here I'm rubbing it on the edges and any portion of the wood that is dry. Of course, you do this with some gloves on, and just make sure you smooth it out. This is a self-leveling epoxy, so just make sure all the dry areas are covered and it even gets to the edges. And then what we'll do is hit it with a torch and do that process of every 10 minutes for about 30 minutes total, hitting it with a torch and getting rid of all the micro bubbles and stuff. And then it will be, you need to let it cure for at least probably 6 to 12 hours. If you need to put another coat on, you can. If you're happy with the one coat, then you can let it just dry until it's nice and hard, which takes 24 to 48 hours. One thing I did forget to tell you is make sure you have it raised up off the table with some blocks underneath, not close to the edge, but far enough so that it will not stick to the paper that is underneath it. And here you can see a view, side view of what it looks like then. I then fabricated legs out of 3-inch, 1/4-inch flat bar and made the table so it's 18 inches off of the ground. Here's the finished product, and it turned out really, really nice. I'm really happy with the way this table turned out. Thanks for watching my channel. Please subscribe, click that like button and the notification bell to be notified of future products. Thank you again for watching and have a wonderful day.